My name is Kristin Kurianski, and I'm an assistant professor in the mathematics department. The content of this video is from my course in fall 2021 titled Math 207, Differential Equations and Linear Algebra. This is my submission for the 2022 Voice Award in the Content Engagement category. As we transitioned back to in-person instruction, I realized that there were elements of my virtual classrooms that I really enjoyed. The main example of this was the Zoom chat feature, which I have a screenshot of here. While online, I used what I call chat blasts for formative assessments. These were quick activities where I would ask students a question, like I have shown on the screen here, and I would tell them to type their answer in the chat, but wait before hitting enter. I would then ask them to give me a reaction emoji or just a physical thumbs up when they were ready with their answers. And when the majority of students were ready, I would say, okay, everybody hit enter, and the answers would flood the chat. The students enjoyed engaging with the material in a low-stakes way, and it gave them a way to check their understanding throughout the lecture. It also gave me the opportunity to check in with every student and see whether I needed to explain a concept further or could move on to the next topic. I also noticed that students who may have felt uncomfortable speaking out loud in a classroom setting might have felt more comfortable posting a question to me in the chat publicly for the class to see, or even a private chat just for me to see, which I could address with the class later. And I really felt like going back to in-person instruction, I was missing out on those interactions. To replicate this type of interaction in my face-to-face classrooms, I used a web-based bulletin board called Padlet. On Padlet, students can post anonymous messages by clicking this plus sign down here. They can type their message, or they can add an image, document, or link. They can then publish their message, and it appears in a stream of messages on the screen. I would have the Padlet open on the computer in the classroom and check it frequently. In fact, whenever I used wait time to give students a chance to finish writing something down or think about a question I had posed, I would check the Padlet. I gave students 3 ways to access the lecture Padlet. At the beginning of class, I projected a shortened link on the screen using a slide like this. Students could then type this link into a browser, either on their smartphone or on a computer in the classroom. This class took place in a computer lab, so all students had access to a computer. Along with the link, I also projected a QR code that students could scan with their phones to access the Padlet quickly. And finally, I also embedded the Padlet into Canvas on a page associated with that day's lecture, so students could engage with the Padlet by logging into Canvas. Here are a few screenshots of examples of ways that students engage with the material using Padlet. The first 2 questions here are just content-specific questions that were asked during lecture, and I got to sort of pause and address these questions in real time. So one student asked about going over a concept again, so maybe I went too quickly here, and it was really good that they asked me to go over it again. Another student asked about the differences between these terms that seem similar, but have very different meanings. So it was a really good discussion to go over those things again. Down here, you can see an example of students just responding to an open-ended question that I had asked the entire class. So some students raise their hands and answer, and other students post their answers in Padlet, and both of those are encouraged. One thing that the students found out they could do without me realizing they could do this was posting their pictures of their work, which was really helpful for me to see the results of their group work. I have the students work in groups to discuss the reading that they had done the night previously, and then I have them share their answers. So some students figured out that they could post a photo of their answers, and that was really cool to see all of their work that way. And then down here, I wanted to show an example of a chat blast. So you can see I asked a multiple choice question that had more than one answer. And here you can see students participating in the chat blast. I use formative assessments a lot in my courses. They allow students to engage with the content frequently, rather than simply scrambling to copy down all of my notes. Using the Padlet for chat blasts in person has helped me incorporate more formative assessments in my courses and give students more opportunities to engage with the content. Moreover, using Padlet as an in-person chat provided an avenue for students to ask questions, even if they didn't feel comfortable speaking in front of the whole class. Since using Padlet in this way, I feel that I've heard from more of my students and given them a chance to engage more fully in the lecture.